Good morning. Welcome to Monday Mindset. Hope you guys had a great week, a great weekend. Hope for all my Northeasters, you are surviving this bitter cold. I shouldn't just say Northeast. I know that storm went everywhere, but it's crazy. I think we got a little over 13 inches here in Pennsylvania, or at least where I'm outside of Philly. And the last 3 inches was like plain ice, which was crazy because it made it insanely hard to shovel this snow and do that type of stuff. So I hope you guys had a great week. I actually was able to escape most of the storm. I went to California last week. I was not able to be on the live. I was traveling, but went to California, spoke on a couple stages. And what a great time to escape. I left on Saturday and spoke last week. But it was 65 degrees to 70 degrees and sunny in Laguna Beach, California. And it was like 13 inches of snow on the ground and 12 degrees or even less in Harleysville, Pennsylvania. And my wife reminded me every single day, if not every hour of the day, that I left her with our young kids and 13 inches of snow, which is kind of funny. But I hope you guys had a great week. I'm going to check my sound here, make sure you guys can hear me. Oh, there you guys are. It looks like you're good. What's up, Joe, Lily? Good to see you guys. I want to talk to you today about a couple different things. It's Monday Mindset. It's February 2nd. We're already 1 month down, right, into 12 quarters or 12 innings, as they say, right? So you have 11 months to go. Have you held on to your goals, and are you holding on to the discipline of the habits you need every single day in order to produce the outcome that you want? And it's never too late. You do not have to wait till New Year's to set a resolution. You can start again today. There's actually this biblical principle of God's mercies are new every morning. Hey, the mercies are new every morning. If you've messed up and you haven't been able to stick to your goals, start today. It's February 2nd. You're still 11 months to go in 2026. Let's make it happen. I was talking to a gentleman this morning at 8 o'clock. I have a coaching call every Monday at 8 o'clock with somebody on our real estate team's top producing agent. This guy's an absolute beast. He closed, 8 houses in January, but his goal is 10. And he has 13 listings live, which in the real estate business is, pretty amazing to have 13 listings live right now. So his pipeline is stacked, but he's not quite hitting goal. And he's suffering from, a week ago when we met, his goal was 5 a.m. wake-ups, texting his goals every day, 2 hours minimum of prospecting, and then he needed to clean up his Reminder Media database to make sure that he was getting the stuff that he needed out. And he didn't do barely any of those things. And I asked him and I said, hey, what's going on? Why aren't you doing them? And he's just lacking motivation. And I shared with him, I said, that is one thing I have found in my own journey is people do not tell you how hard it is to motivate yourself when you are semi-successful. And, this guy's making, hundreds of thousands of dollars a year at this point, and his pipeline is stacked, but he's not hitting what he said he wanted to do, and he's lacking motivation. And I tell people all the time, success is a drug that paralyzes you. You get semi-successful, and what happens is you're not as motivated, because, let's be truthful, when you're making a couple $100,000 a year, $250,000 a year, you're feeling pretty good. And it's hard to get yourself to go that extra mile, right? To put that extra rep in at the gym, because that's the hard part. And he was suffering from the lack of motivation. And I told him this is where true motivation sets in. And what I mean by true motivation is you have to determine the type of person you want to be, and you have to be motivated by something intrinsically, not extrinsically, meaning you're motivated not just on the money you want to make or the goals you want to reach financially, monetarily, whatever you want to say. You're motivated by something bigger. And this is where a lot of people will go to your why and stuff like that, which I think your why is a powerful thing. But my personal experience with whys is they constantly evolve. Your why is going to evolve over time, and that's a good thing. Honestly, you can almost frame it as, every day is a pursuit of finding out what your why should be. It's a pursuit of growth. It's the atomic habits concept of getting 1% better every day. But my point really to Tim was, hey, Tim, you've got to realize why you are supposed to do what you're supposed to do goal-wise. And I said, we need to break down the things in your life and your personal business so you can actually attribute that to your actual work that you're doing, because, we went to a bunch of things with his income and his personal life and all that stuff to try to show him that even though it looks like you're successful and you're doing a bunch of great things, you still have a lot of things that can improve. But I said, more importantly than just improving those, because once you accomplish that, what's going to motivate you? Then you got to find the next broken piece of yourself to grow. I said, what really should motivate you is this concept of you are actually called to be a good steward of the gifts that God has given you, and you're called to be excellent in all you do as if you do it unto the Lord, not as unto men. And what I was sharing with them is like, that's where the true motivation comes from, is that ultimately, because I've made a little bit of money in my life and had some successes in my life, it's very hard to motivate yourself by money, and you start scraping to try to go. In a way, what happens is you start looking at your life and analyzing every aspect of your life and trying to pick it apart to give yourself some motivation to improve that area of your life so you can be on this kind of rat race of like, I'm going to be the best version of myself. But ultimately, that is a fleeting type motivation. But doing it because of a higher calling, that is the motivation that, at least for me, I have found to be true, that God calls you, that what you do it as if you do it unto the Lord, and that you should be a steward of the gifts that are given to you, to where you don't just take that gift and you bury it in the ground and you don't multiply it and you don't replicate it. You should be a good steward of the gifts. And I told him, hey man, when you get your motivation there, then when you're not making your phone calls, like you said, when you're not hitting the 10 goals or 10, sales in the month, like you said you were going to do, you actually can go back to the reason why you should hold true to your goals. And this is really, not to get all preachy on you guys, although I am getting preachy a little bit, it's kind of like the fruit of the Spirit, right? If you're filled with the Spirit, you're going to have the fruits of the Spirit. And the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, and all these things. But one of the things is self-control. It's your ability to have discipline and control over yourself and over your flesh and over the things you don't want to do, to be able to go out and do the things that you're called to do. And so all of this is just, I was on a call at 8 a.m. this morning. I just want to encourage you guys that, hey, if you're chasing money and you're chasing the goals, but you're semi-successful, it's going to be very hard to motivate yourself. It's got to be bigger than that. And I ultimately believe it's got to come from what your Creator and what He's called you to be and the gifts that He's given you to execute on. You need to use those gifts. You can't just bury them in the sand, and you need to do everything that you're doing, not because of just some monetary goal that it will get you, but because you're called to do it with excellence as if you do it unto the Lord. And if you were actually doing it unto God, would you slack on your calls? Would you slack on how you treat the client? Would you slack on your product? And I have to remind myself of this all the time, and the truth is, I wouldn't. So I just want to encourage you today, wherever you're at, if you find yourself like Tim, a little bit unmotivated because you're making a lot of money, and you're looking for that next rung, you got to look and be a person of integrity and go, hey, who has God called me to be, and what gifts has He given me, and am I executing on those gifts appropriately? So that's one thought for you today. Second thought is, I was out in California, right, talking on these subjects of marketing, and they brought me out because they wanted to I did a mastermind one day with 20 of their elite agents across the Berkshire Hathaway network. And then the next day I spoke, I guess the next 2 days I spoke at a conference they were putting on. And, I shared with them what I often share with you guys, which is where most people go wrong in this business. I see it in two areas. One is they know this is a relationship-based business, but they market transactionally. So they know it's a know, like, and trust you business. If I can get more people to know me, to like me, to trust me, they'll do business with me. But when I market to people, I market extremely transactional in nature, products, services, promotions. And the problem with that type of marketing is it has to be like the lottery. You have to hit someone at the exact right time where they're in the buying mode for whatever you're offering, for it to resonate with them, for them to take action. And this is why you get the spray and pray methodology. People just spray and pray to a bunch of lists, and they hope that people will subscribe or purchase their items, and they get 1%, conversion rates to 2% conversion rates. And so my first challenge to them was audit all of your marketing to ask yourself, yes, I need to promote my products and services. Yes, I need to show people how I can help them. But how are you actually delivering value to them, more from a relationship standpoint, to add value to their life so they know you and they like you, that will ultimately over time lead to trust? How are you doing that? And then the second thing I shared with them is, hey, you can't just market transactionally. You got to market relationship-wise or relationally. But the second thing is the amount of touch points you're doing are far too little. And I cannot get this across enough to people in this business is that the problem you have is that if you study Fortune 50, Fortune 500 companies, the amount of touches and the amount of mediums they are marketing on is outrageous. I know a guy, he owns Rush Order Tees. And so it's one of the biggest t-shirt companies out there, right? And this guy's just a freaking savant. He's a genius. But he told me one time he's on the hunt for ROAS. He's like, I'm just looking for ROAS, man. I'm on the hunt for ROAS because he sponsors like the 76ers. He does their t-shirts and he's sponsoring in the arena. And I was asking him, man, do you get return from being a sponsor in the arena? How much does that cost you and all this stuff? He goes, oh man, can I totally track my name being on the arena and all that stuff? He goes, no, but I'm looking at my overall ROAS and I'm on the hunt for ROAS. What is ROAS? ROAS is return on ad spend, where he's measuring, hey, I have all this ad spend going out there and I just want to measure what I'm spending on ad spend to the revenue that I'm getting off of my marketing every year, my new sales that are coming in. Is that productive? And if it is, I'm just going to do more of it. And that's why you see these big companies, they're on radio, they're on billboards, they're on shopping carts, they're in email marketing, they're on social media, they're sending postcards and direct mail. They're doing all these different mediums of marketing because they understand the more people see me, the more people will know me, the more people know me, the more potential I have for them to like me and ultimately trust me. What we get wrong in this business is we do one email monthly newsletter and we think that's enough to dominate in mind share. Do you understand that the average consumer is seeing 10,000 plus advertisements a day? 10,000 different brands a day, according to these studies that are out there, is what a consumer's seeing. You think a chance they're going to remember your brand from one monthly email newsletter? They ain't going to remember your brand. This is why most people, when they get into the service-based industry and you ask them, where does your business come from? They'll say it comes from my sphere. It comes from people that I know, my friends and my family or my current clients. Why is that? Why do you think that is? It's because your friends, your sphere, they naturally get way more touches with you than just the one-time monthly email newsletter. And so I was trying to share with these agents is going, look, if you want to dominate in any industry, you've got to ask yourself, well, where's my target audience? Who am I trying to serve? What is my unique value proposition that I have for that target audience? And then how do I deliver up that unique value proposition consistently wherever that unique target audience is, and in all the different ways that unique target audience or ideal target audience would want to hear from me? And this is where you get into looking at your cadence of marketing and going, okay, how often am I hitting my unique or ideal target audience, i.e. your database, your list of contacts? How often am I hitting them? And if I'm not hitting them at least every 2 weeks, bare minimum, no way I'm going to stand out in their minds. If you study a ton of these brands, I mean, how many emails do you get from the clothing store that you buy clothes from, right? I think of Kohl's and TJ Maxx and all these different stores, right? How often is Amazon hitting you up in all these different ways? And that's just an email. And then you extend it out and go, okay, here's my ideal target audience. I need to hit them at least 26 times, and I need to hit them on 6 of the main frequencies in marketing, which would be the email inbox, direct mailbox, face-to-face. So maybe that's a client event, a seminar, a cup of coffee with your clients. You need a voice-to-voice. Every single one of you should be calling your database at least quarterly because, again, relationship-based business. How do you build relationships? You got to get to know people. How do you get to know people? You got to have conversations. So if I'm calling Joe up, I'm just trying to get to know him because the more Joe and I talk and get to know each other, the more Joe will end up liking me and trusting me, or the opposite effect. The less he will like me or trust me, but in the end, I won't have Joe as a client either way. So you got to get to know your people by calling them. Then you have social media, which is huge, or you could call it really the internet, being out there on these sites, advertising on social, advertising on these different sites that offer you advertisement spots. And then you have screen to screen, which would be a text message, a Zoom call, maybe a video text message that you're sending to people. Mark in your calendars and go, man, am I hitting my database enough? Most of you are not. And then am I hitting them with valuable content? And I always refer to the 3 E's of content: education, entertainment, endearment. If I were to look at your drip today, would I see, and what's up, Flip and Cat? Good to see you guys on here. Would I see hitting your database educational content about what you do? Would I see hitting your database entertaining content about what's going on in the community, what you believe they would be into, and would I see endearing content? Endearing content would be content that showcases your values, showcases what you stand for. Most of the time I give the example of charities that you support in your community, maybe the Little League team, the Boys and Girls Club, stuff you're doing at your local church. Would I see those 3 types of content going to your database? And if not, you have an opportunity here to where, okay, I need visibility and credibility. Visibility comes from what I send and how many mediums I'm on and how often I'm sending. And then credibility comes from what I send to these people. Is it actually valuable? Educational, entertaining, and endearing content is what will bring those people in. So that's my Monday mindset for you guys. 15 minutes in. Hope you guys have an amazing week. I always appreciate you guys tuning in. Appreciate all of you. Get out there and win for your clients, for you, for your family. Let's make it a great week. It's February 2nd. Like I said, if you haven't stuck to your goals, don't worry. It's a new day. Go make it happen. Appreciate you guys.